President Trump hit the ground running on his pledge to secure the homeland, signing an executive order today on the construction of that long-promised border wall with Mexico, and in front of several angel moms signing a measure to starve federal funding from sanctuary cities.
Beginning today, the United States of America gets back control of its borders, gets back its borders in my executive orders. The Secretary of Homeland Security, working with myself and my staff, will begin immediate construction of a border wall.
Joining me now to discuss Frank Gaffney and Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. Colonel Peters, what do you make of today's announcement? A lot of people thought Donald Trump was bluffing on this.
Well, I never thought he was bluffing on it, but the wall is largely important as a symbol. There are stretches of the border, and I've worked down there, where more fencing will help. But the real wall you need is a wall of laws that are enforced. And the fundamental problem we've had on our border is we have good laws that have not been enforced. And what really encouraged me today, Charles, were things they were raising the possibility of ending catch and release, establishing detention centers close to the border so that we're not shipping immigrants all across the country and playing shell games with them. And, of course, the crackdown on sanctuary cities is important because nobody gets to choose which federal laws they do or do not obey.
Absolutely right, Frank. In fact, Donald Trump said, listen, we're going to enforce the laws of the USA, work within the existing framework, but the wall, I can't think of anything that resonated more during the primary with would-be voters than the notion of putting up this wall because, people feel completely insecure. They feel like they don't control their own country, who comes in and who comes out, including the drugs and the murder and the violence that comes along with it. So a lot of people believe this is a central element to keeping America safe.
Well, you're absolutely right, Charles. And I think as important as what Trump stood for in this regard was the contrast with his opponent. Hillary Clinton was not interested in any wall at all. In fact, she actually, I think, confessed to some Wall Street guys that she was for open borders. The American people want security, and they understand that the border being secured is going to be critical to that. And I couldn't agree more with Ralph in talking about how important it is to deterring people from trying to get across our borders, whatever the fences might be, by enforcing the laws interior to our country. This is another key part of what the president laid out today, and I think the combination may begin even before that construction is very far advanced to dissuade people from trying to make the trek.
Colonel Peters, you mentioned Homeland Security. Of course, Donald Trump talked about ICE border guards. He's going to hire more immigration officials there. He's going to triple some of the other areas. Are you okay now with activating the more police activities, if you will, of Homeland Security? Do you think that's the right thing? Would that be some form of a national police force to enact this, particularly when you have many sanctuary cities saying they're not going to help?
Well, I don't think we need a national police force. I think we need national respect for our laws. And I go back again and again. This country is about the rule of law. The fundamental problem we have with our immigration situation is that we have not enforced the laws that are on the books. It's been selective enforcement at best. And I'll double down on what Frank said about what I said. Look, you got to deter people from coming. We've got to deal with the ones that are here. And it's a great start to get the criminals out. And they come back, they go to federal lockup for a long time. Well, but beyond that, I really want to see these detention centers close to the border in rural areas. And, the left will scream, oh, concentration camps, Gitmo, Manzanar, Auschwitz. But there is no good alternative. You cannot catch these people and say, oh, well, we'll trust you to show up for immigration hearing. Enforce the laws.
Gentlemen, at this very moment, right here in New York City in Lower Manhattan, we've got hundreds of people who are gathering. To your point, Colonel Peters, they're protesting the news out today. Also, breaking news just moments ago, Marty Walsh, mayor of Boston, has said that he will go as far as using City Hall to shelter immigrants if needed. They will not retreat an inch, and anyone who feels threatened or vulnerable, he wants them to know if you're an illegal immigrant, you are safe in Boston. Frank, if we don't need a national police force, how will we actually be able to get these illegal immigrants out of these hundreds of sanctuary cities that are doubling down?
Well, you know, Charles, there was an interesting response, apparently, to the prosecution of some of the rioters who tried to interrupt the Trump inauguration. They were charged with felony offenses. I suggest that if you want to get people's attention, prosecute Mayor Walsh on felony charges of violating federal law. I think you'll find an awful lot of people think, hey, maybe this sanctuary city thing isn't such a cool idea after all. And this is what we need. Ralph, again, is right. Federal laws are on the books. They've been enacted through our democratic process. If they're enforced, we're going to stop having as many people try to get here, and we're going to stop seeing the violation of the law with impunity by Americans as well. All of that creates a better, I think, public safety situation than we have at the moment, thanks to Barack Obama.
Colonel Peters?
Charles, could I just jump in on this? With sanctuary cities, they have to obey the law. But if we take a strategic view, if we enforce our laws nationwide, if ICE does its job, Homeland Security does its job, illegals will flood into the sanctuary cities, put such demands on the social services, the public services, that they'll follow their own accord. So instead of directly confronting the sanctuary cities, yes, cut off the funding as appropriate, but let's just take our time and let them find out how much it costs to take this noble stand against the Constitution.
You know, speaking of
That's hard on a lot of people, though, I'm afraid. If you do that, I just as soon spare the innocent citizens and taxpayers of these communities.
It just seems to me, guys, that there's going to be some form of a showdown. Boston, Chicago, San Francisco, there's going to be some form of a showdown. Yeah, securing the border, I think, is the easy part. Getting rid of illegal immigrants, even those who have committed the most heinous of crimes, they've got protection. And this is the shameful part of this. I want to listen to a part where Donald Trump talked about the forgotten victims, because I'm not sure the mayor of Boston knows about these people.
Pundits talk about how enforcing immigration laws can separate illegal immigrant families. But the families they don't talk about are the families of Americans, forever separated from the people they love. They don't talk about that, ever. As your president, I have no higher duty than to protect the lives of the American people.